And if you like the video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. Hey everyone, this video is going to be going over an all infantry 2000 points list for the Auric Champions Detachment. No long range firepower in this list, movement and unit placement will be very important. We'll be taking advantage of the +1 to wound from the Detachment Rule Assemblage of Might. I'll go over the list and how the stratagems and enhancements benefit this list, followed by a unit breakdown, which stratagems to use, and the general game plan for each unit. Then we'll end with some final thoughts on the list. Now let's go over the actual list itself. It is a Auric Champions Detachment. I've named it the Dreadhost, 2000 points exactly. Our Warlord is a Shield Captain in Terminator armor with the Martial Philosopher enhancement and the Castellan Axe. For our other characters, we have another Shield Captain in Terminator armor. He has the Inspirational Exemplar with a Guardian Spear. Last, we have a Shield Captain on the Dawn Eagle jet bike, no enhancements on him. In our battle line, we have 5 Custodian Guard, 4 with Spears, and 1 with the Vexilla. Other data sheets, we have a unit of 5 Allarus Terminators with Castellan Axes. We have another unit of 5 Allarus Terminators with Guardian Spears. 2 units of 3 Venatari with Venatari Lances, and then 3 units of Witch Seekers. For our allied units, we have Kyria Draxis for attaching into that Custodian Guard. Then we have the Callous Assassin for all the utility that she does give this list. And here we have the army rule for the Adeptus Custodes themselves, the Martial Kata. Each time a unit from your army with this ability is selected to fight, select one of the Kata stances. Until that unit has finished making its attacks, the selected stance is active for it and it gains the relevant ability. You can either select Dakatari stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the sustained 1 ability, or the Rendak stance, melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the lethal hits ability. A great army rule to boost our melee damage potential. If we'll be wounding on a 4+ or less, you want to pick sustained 1. If you're wounding on a 5 or 6, you pick lethal. Now we'll go over the Auric Champions Detachment Rule. I still have it as the new assemblage of might because this change is big for the Auric Champions. At the start of your command phase, select 1 unit from your opponent's army until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in an Adeptus Custodes character unit from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll. This ability combined with the character units we have in this list can lead to some incredible damage into the assemblage of might target. This ability gives +1 to wound to ranged and melee to the assemblage of might target. Very powerful for Allarus units led by shield captains. Now let's go over the enhancements that I do have in this Auric Champions list. First off, on our Allarus Shield Captain Warlord, we have the Martial Philosopher for 30 points. The bearer's unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back, and once per battle, when an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches of the bearer, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. This enhancement gives the Allarus unit attached to the Allarus Shield Captain 2 very strong abilities. A once per game reactive move of 5 inches. It says up to 6 inches, although it can only move the movement on the data sheet if it's below 6 though. So our Allarus Terminators only have a 5-inch movement, so they can only move 5 inches. They can't move 6. Very useful ability to either make an opponent's charge even harder or to get out of some line of sight of some incoming ranged attacks. A bit more situational is we could use it to move 5 inches closer to a whole different target than the one that triggered the once per game move up to ability, or even steal an objective or move block an enemy unit. All game fallback and charge makes this unit a huge threat on the board, a hard target to engage or pin down for long. I put it on the Castellan Axe and Shield Captain's Allarus unit because they will have a more focused target, making them more important to be able to fall back from annoying units who may be trying to tie up the Allarus Custodians in combat. Next we have Inspirational Exemplar, and this is on our other Allarus Shield Captain, and what this does is the bearer has a leadership characteristic of 5. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, you can select 1 friendly Adeptus Custodes unit that is battle shocked, and within 12 inches of the bearer, that unit is no longer battle shocked. Simply a points filler. It can come in handy depending on the opponent. Being able to turn off battle shock once per battle can make a big difference for low model factions like the Adeptus Custodes. Now let's move on to the stratagems, which admittedly they aren't all that strong. Some of them are decent, but a lot of them are kind of locked to your Custodes characters. First, we have earning a name. In the fight phase, for 1 CP, Select up to 2 Custodian character units from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a character model in your unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle unit, you can reroll the hit or you can reroll the wound roll. This is one of the better stratagems we have access to, although it only targets 2 Adeptus Custodes characters to reroll the hits and wounds. With lethal or sustained hits 1 from the Martial Kata ability, it is a deadly combination. I will be using this on my Allarus units when I need some extra damage into vehicles or monsters. If we put this unit while using this stratagem into the assemblage of my target, not much will be able to survive that. Once again, it's only the shield captain that would benefit from the stratagem, but still reroll your hits and wounds can be quite potent with these shield captains. The only thing with earning a name is you can only use this with Strategic Mastery to reduce the CP cost if you use it on one model and not the 2 models. And here's one of the weaker stratagems. We have Shoulder the Mantle for 1 CP, your movement phase before the reinforcement step, 1 Adeptus Custodes character model from your army that is not leading a unit, select 1 friendly unit, excluding battle shocked and attached units, within 2 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of a model that could lead as described in your leader section of the datasheet. Your model attaches to that unit as a leader. Change that unit's starting strength accordingly. Like Superhuman Reserves, another stratagem I wanted to mention just so new players have the information on all of the stratagems. Otherwise, in this list, I will not be using this stratagem. With the data slate change, it has become near useless. Next up is Superhuman Reserves. For 2 CP, any phase just after an Adeptus Custodes Warlord model from your army has used an ability on a status sheet or from an enhancement that says it can only be used once per battle. It has to target your Adeptus Custodes Warlord. Your model can use its once per battle ability 1 additional time during this battle, but not in the same phase. Restrictions is you cannot use a stratagem more than once per battle. Even with our Warlord Allarus Shield Captain being able to reduce this stratagem by 1 CP, this stratagem still will not be worth it. Trajan or some rare situational battles are the only reason to consider this stratagem. You may want to use it to try to reset the Martial Philosopher's once per game reactive movement. If we did have the extra CP, you could use Strategic Mastery from this only cost 1 CP. It might be worth it just because the reactive movement is quite strong, so this might be a play to use it, but other than that, I'm probably not going to use this stratagem that much for 2 CP. Briefly go over the worst stratagem in the detachment. Vigil Unending. For 2 CP in the fight phase, 1 Adeptus Custodes character model from your army that was destroyed and has not fought this phase, you can use this stratagem on the unit even though it was destroyed. Do not remove your destroyed model from play. The destroyed model can fight, and after the attacking unit has finished making its attacks, then you can remove from play. So it's a 2 CP fight on death just for your Adeptus Custodes character model. Even if you want to use Strategic Mastery on this, making it 1 CP, you're really not going to do a whole lot of damage with 1 Custodes character model towards a unit. If you really need to take the unit out and there's only a few stragglers left, you might want to try doing it, but other than that, you're probably not going to wipe a whole unit with a Custodes character model. And here we have one of our more powerful stratagems, the Emperor's Auspice. For 1 CP, your opponent's shooting or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, 1 Adeptus Custodes character unit from your army that was selected as a target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, character models in your unit have the 4-up Feel No Pain ability. This stratagem will only be really used on our shield captain on the Dawn Eagle Jetbike on a regular basis, since it only works on the Custodes character model. The units attached to the Allarus shield captains would have to be destroyed before they would actually receive any benefit from the stratagem. It will be very valuable on the Dawn Eagle captain though, making the opponent have to overcommit to kill him or even waste shots to still have the shield captain alive and on the table. 4-up Feel No Pain combined with the tanky Custodes profile is a hard unit to deal with. Another stratagem that really shines from the change to Strategic Mastery, allowing the shield captains to use this stratagem for 0 CP once per battle round. The next stratagem we have is Slayer of Champions. For 1 CP, any phase, 1 Adeptus Custodes character unit from your army that has just destroyed the unit you selected at the start of your command phase as a target of your assemblage of might. Select 1 enemy unit on the battlefield until the start of your next command phase. Each time an Adeptus Custodes character model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the wound roll. In addition, if the destroyed unit was a character unit, gain 1 CP. This is another one of the better better stratagems we have access to in the Auric Champions Detachment, even then it is not as powerful as it could or should be. Even so, we will be trying to take advantage of it as much as possible. I think the fight phase is where I want to try to set up charges in combat to give the shield captain as much extra wounds through on targets as possible. Another stratagem really hurt by the fact that it only gives the +1 to wound on the new target when being targeted by a Custodian's character model. It's not like the Assemblage of Might is now how it's character unit, only your character model in that unit. It would be nice if it allowed it to select the new Assemblage of Might target, not just a +1 to wound with your character models, but hopefully they will change that. And hopefully with the change, it will give us a reason to try to time kills in certain phases to try to spread the Assemblage of Might as much as possible. Right now, it's just giving us a nice little boost to character models after we've killed the Assemblage of Might target if we use Slayer of Champions. Now let's go over the actual units in the list. Our Warlord is going to be one of the Allarus Shield Captains, the one with the Axe and the Martial Philosopher enhancement. He is going to be attached to 5 of the Allarus Terminators. This is our monster vehicle hunting unit. Other units can be targeted too, of course. This unit has the Castellan Axe though, making them a bit more deadly into those targets. Having only AP1 does hurt though. Also a fantastic unit for killing Space Marine Terminators, since each failed save is a dead Terminator. Very deadly into light infantry units with the Assemblage of Might target. Kill the target in shooting and then bounce the +1 to wound for character models only with the Slayer of Champions. I prefer to try to use this combination in fight phase, though to maximize our army strength, which is melee. The enhancement makes it very hard to tie this unit down with an all-game fallback and charge, along with a once per game reactive move. I know the Castellan Axes are probably not the optimal choice, but I do really like to have a unit with a bit more damage potential into things like Catan or possibly Knights. Damage reduction abilities or stratagems will not affect them as badly as the Guardian Spears. Going from damage 2 to damage 1 really hurts those spears. The Castellan Axe will only go from damage 3 to damage 2, making them still quite potent in melee. Proper use of earning a name and the Slayer of Tyrants stratagems will help, as they are some of the few useful stratagems in this detachment. Then we have our other shield captain, who is also attached to a unit of 5 Terminators, and he has the Inspirational Exemplar, and all of them have spears instead of the Castellan Axes. This is going to be an aggressive list. With no Custodian Wardens, standing on objectives, tanking enemy firepower will not work. This unit is part of the all-aggressive game plan of this list. This unit will be able to put some serious firepower into any Assemblage of Might target that is not a vehicle or monster. Even into those units, we can expect to do some decent damage. +1 to wound on their spears and ballistic grenade launchers is very deadly. If the Assemblage of Might target is a low toughness character unit, these Terminators will rip them apart with their shooting, let alone all the melee attacks if we need to charge into that unit to finish it off. In melee, with an Assemblage of Might target that is a character or monster unit, the Allarus Terminators go nuclear. With 5 attacks, hit on 2s, strength 7, AP 2, damage 2, add on the +1 to wound and reroll wounds with the Allarus Custodian's data sheet ability, Slayer of Tyrants. So if you're fighting a character, monster, vehicle unit, you'll be able to reroll your wounds, and that is in your ranged or your melee. This unit will be a nightmare to deal with. Like most of this list, the only stratagems that we'll be using on this unit will be the core stratagems and earning a name for some extra damage in those monster vehicles. Slayer of Champions will also be used, but with some setup to make sure we get the most out of it. Now we have the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle Jet Bike. This is a fantastic unit for getting secondary points, as well as hunting down light infantry units. The speed combined with lance on their melee weapons makes this model a light infantry killing machine. Emperor's Auspice is great for keeping this shield captain alive for Feel No Pain. This is a solo character, making it an easy choice to use. June 2024 data slate change let us use this stratagem for 0 CP with the shield captain's strategic mastery. I usually use this model to try to grab an early turn 1 objective, then lurk on the sides of the board hunting for light infantry or lone operative units. A movement of 12 gives us some great movement options. The sweeping advance ability allows us to get even more extra movement with a once per game move at the end of the fight phase. We could take out a light infantry unit, then move the shield captain to cover or another threatening position. You have to have fought this phase to be able to use this ability, but it does help us get some extra movement if we want to charge into something and we don't want to get shot the next turn. We can use sweeping advance to move 12 inches to get behind cover, or even press further into the enemy's lines. Then we have the unit that makes most of my lists, Draxus with 5 Custodian Guard. This unit is even more dangerous due to the Auric Champions Detachment Rule, Assemblage of Might. Her unit will not benefit from the stratagems since she is not a Custodes character model. She is though a character. When joined with the Custodian Guard, that unit is now a Custodes character unit. getting the +1 to wound against the assemblage of might target. Her unit is an anti-infantry monster. The Custodian Guard's ability Stand Vigil allows us to reroll wounds of 1 or reroll all wounds if we're on an objective that we control. Pair that with Drax's anti-infantry gun, 4 shots, hitting on 3s, anti-infantry 4, devastating wounds, damage 2, and you're going to be rerolling trying to get those anti-infantry 4s. We can also once per battle shoot twice with this unit. With these data cards combined, this unit can pick up infantry units quite easily. We will be using this unit to hold either our home objective or an objective in no man's land. We want to keep this unit safe while ripping apart enemy infantry units in the midboard. The longer we can keep her on the tabletop, the better. Since she is our only real way to access easy, devastating wounds, she also has a grenade keyword, giving us a unit that can use the grenade stratagems, which is big since none of our Custodes units have the grenade keyword. Now let's talk about our Venatari. These 2 units will be our second scoring and objective stealers. The free rapid ingress and movement of 10 inches give this unit a huge threat range. A great unit to send up the board to steal enemy home objectives or steal a different, not so heavily guarded objective, causing the enemy to have to spread out more or risk not getting many points over the course of the game. Free rapid ingress, free fallback and charge built right into the data sheet. Then the unit has 15 attacks, lethal or sustained hits 1 from the martial kata, hitting on 2s, AP 2, damage 2. Even with only 3 models, this unit is very dangerous and aggressive. The melee weapon, the Venatari Lance, has the Lance keyword, allowing for some reliable damage when making the charge. No need to attack the assemblage of my target when we already have a built-in +1 to wound on the charge. Gives us many different charge target options with this unit. Then we have our Humble Witch Seekers. We have 3 units in this list, so 2 of these units I will be using them to scout up the board, 1 towards the center and 1 towards the closest objective to my deployment, if we are in a deployment that has objectives that are quite close to the deployment. This should help cover some of the early game secondary draws. If we are facing an army like the War Leaders where they can threaten us with a turn 1 charge, we can scout them ahead to screen that turn 1 charge. The 3rd unit, we can use it to either hold the home objective, or if there's too much of a threat to the home objective from enemy deep strikes, we can use this unit to screen or scout towards the center objective as well, and leave Kyria Draxis and her unit to guard the home objective. Next we have the Custodes Assassin. This is our best unit for scoring secondary points. Pariah Nexus has a lot of complete at the end of the opponent's next turn to complete secondaries. A lone op model with the ability to redeploy every battle round is very helpful for this list for scoring those kind of secondaries. We can also use her to negate enemy stratagems or help drain enemy CP by dropping her within 12 inches of a target, causing all stratagems used within 12 inches of the Custodes Assassin to cost an extra CP. It can be very powerful when the enemy has 1 CP. Even if the enemy has 0 CP and they want to use a Rites of Battle, it will still cost an extra CP. So even at 0 CP, they will not be able to use a Rites of Battle or something like that if they're within 12 inches of the Custodes. We do have to be very careful when placing her on the board now though. She can be a very important unit for our secondary scoring. We do not want to get her killed early on in the game. And for our final thoughts, this list will not be winning tournaments, but I think it still would be a fun and competitive list. A lot of shooting and melee threat with a very deadly fight phase into the assemblage of my target. I want to test this list and a list with the Caladius Grav tanks and possibly Canis Rex in there. For now, I want to focus on an all infantry list for the Auric Champions. The damage potential, all these units cannot be ignored by the opponent. We need to be much more aggressive than the normal Warden spam list, but that's something I don't mind, a little different gameplay. Hope you enjoyed the video, you got something useful of this list, and like I always say, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.